weird thing I was thinking about was the last time I saw Mark Ruffalo, he was playing this really broad, campy, over the top performance kind of thing, and here he's even bigger and campier and broader than he was then. I guess he's reached that phase of his career where he wants to. He's Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Ooh-ah!
Hey, you got some scenery? I'll chew it.
I'll chew it. Welcome to episode 9 of Tom and Rob Chat. It's spring break week. Hooray! I was going to put on a Hawaiian shirt, but I decided, no, I'm never going to want to see that again. So let's not do that. Oh boy. And because I've been so crazed today, I don't actually know what's going on in the world today. There's been
South by Southwest.
Yes,
That's happening.
Yes, that's happening. I'm one of those Austinites that has learned to avoid South by Southwest as much as I can, because it's a big disruption. I'm amazed that they're gonna tear down the convention center because they say it's too small for South by now, and build a whole new one. But that means...
Holy crap, really?
Yes. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah, they're going to tear the entire thing down, which I still think of as a new thing in Austin, and build a new one.
It's only 20 years old, right?
Yeah, and I have a lot of memories there, but, it's going to take like 4 or 5 years to build this thing, and, your image seems to be frozen. That's not good. Normally, I'm more on top of it, but I was in the editing brain space, not the chatting brain space. Normally, I have like an hour to okay, I'm gonna think about.
Let things marinate.
I forgot to talk about the Alamo. Just randomly one morning showed an old 1937 movie directed by Leo McCarey, the guy that directed The Awful Truth and Duck Soup. And I had no idea why they were showing it, but when I get up sometimes in the morning, I'm like, is there anything to see today? And I was like, oh, well, that sounds interesting. And then I had that thought where I thought, well, I don't know whether I'm really interested in going out right now at 11 a.m. to see it. And then I thought, when am I ever going to see this again? Because I hadn't really heard of this movie. And in fact, the name is escaping me now. It's like Look to the Future or Something's Better, Gonna Be Better Tomorrow. Or it's not a memorable title. I thought, if I don't see it today, I'm never going to see this movie. Even if it comes on Turner Classic Movies, I'll probably go, oh yeah, that movie. Well, I'll see it some other time. I'm not going to. So I did go to see it. And there's 7 or 8 other people at 11 a.m. seeing this 1937 movie. Perfectly charming thing. It's about, there's a mom and a dad who have 5 grown children, and they are in the position where well, we called you all together this morning because we can't afford to pay our mortgage at the bank, so they're going to get the house back, and we're going to be out of our house, and none of the 5 kids want the parents to stay with them. So they start shunting him like, Mom, you go here with her and I'll take you, Dad. And then, of course, the dealing with an older generation of folks gets on their nerves a lot because they're just putting around and they have old ways and old habits. And eventually, these ungrateful children all kind of say, well, let's send Dad to California and Mom to a nursing home. It's starts getting really, yeah. And then it turns out, but we get more and more sympathy for these old folks as it goes on, and less sympathy for the kids. And then finally, there's it comes down to well, okay, let's spend one last day in Central Park before Pa has to go off to California. Just the parents. They sit on a park bench. They go, remember that hotel where we stayed in our honeymoon? And they go there and they have sort of a date night. And eventually, and they're dancing and they're having drinks and ooh, cocktails. They didn't used to let women drink because they would have been married in the 1880s.
Yeah.
So, and they have such a fine time. They call the kids. They're all waiting for one last dinner with the folks, and they're like, we're not coming. Bye. Yeah, I'm going to get on the train. And then they part at the train station. He actually does get on the train to California. She is going to the nursing home. It's very bittersweet. And the Alamo app's description of it said that Orson Welles said, "Well, you'd have to be made of stone not to tear up at the ending." I guess I am made of stone because I didn't tear up, but it was very sweet, and that made me think of like, I know there's sometimes there are movies that make me choke up a little bit, but I can't think of that many. I don't know what happened. As a kid, I could, but I don't do it so much anymore. And I think something came up recently where I was like, "Oh yeah, that does get me. That movie does get me at the end there." Which one? Oh, it's strangely enough, it's the Spider-Man 2, the Tobey Maguire era. There's this one sequence where Dr. Octopus sends a train hurtling down at the end of a track, and it's going to kill everybody on the train unless he stops it. And he's shooting all the webs he can, and he's holding on for dear life, but he's trying to stop the momentum of an entire train. And eventually, the effort of it is so much that he starts getting squashed into the metal body of the train, and he's got to hold on just a few more seconds longer. Like, this is actually the superpower, not the spider powers, but his willpower to hold on just a few more seconds. And he does beyond all human endurance, saves the train, and then just passes out and collapses. And all the people on the train gently catch him and pull him inside and take care of him. And I'm like, that gets me choked up a little. I don't know why. That touches me somehow. Touches something from my childhood reading the comic books or something, because they would emphasize it's the heart of the superhero, not the super dealies.
Right. Not the superpower.
Not the superpower. So you mentioned last week that you were going to be helping Alan with the post-production on his movie. Are you doing
Yes.
that?
We are a week into that. He is just a few days away from picture lock, and we our producing partner has made a deal with the post house.
Oh,
So we have a place. We have a place to do the final post. You know, the basically the grading
great.
and the final sound mix, and there's probably two other things. Oh yeah, the kind of the technical things about separating the dialogue tracks. Certain markets can overdub, and putting it in a format that the streamers can stream.
Okay, so he's made this feature film. It's almost done. That's very exciting. He's been working on this for a while now.
Yeah.
A couple of
Yeah.
years.
This particular one about 20 months.
Okay, yeah. I think when I went to one of your birthday parties and met him, he was talking about, I think I have a guy that's going to fund this project that I want to do, and it seemed like it was going to work out for him. So apparently, it did work out for him. That's really good.
It was it was a rocky road, but it's looking good now.
It's funny, I actually met him before I met you. On the very
Really?
first, I came back from film school, and there was an ad in the paper needing a sound guy on a film, and he was an actor in the film. So it was my first gig doing the whole boom work and things. And yeah, and so we knew each other, and then we'd run into each other, once every 4 or 5 years, but enough to like, oh yeah, your face. Okay, I remember. We're still in that phase. Although you're a link between us now, so I don't know. I'm still like, guy makes good from a long time ago. Because the guy that made the movie that we were both in, he the last time I saw him was at some South by Southwest thing. Oh, it was an Austin Film Society event. And he said, I have a new script and I'm working on it. I'm like, oh, okay. And I think I saw it on YouTube at some point. I'm like, well, yeah, okay. But yet again, someone from our generation just didn't quite like break through with it. We all had the ambition. We were all full of what we wanted to do. Let's see. Just randomly. Now, why did I write that down? I guess it was probably an Elon Musk thing, maybe. I was remembering a nerdy little kid. We were all nerdy kids. I mean, I was too. And there was the Dungeons and Dragons phase in seventh grade. And there was this kid who, he kept bragging about his character. And he would go away for the weekend, come back, and he would have jumped 3 levels. And then it was level 20. And everyone's like, man, we're only playing a couple times a week at school. What is this? He's like, I go on the weekend, I play with some other guys, and my character levels up. No one was buying it. Just like, we knew he was just cheating. And but then he had the nerve to like brag about it. And finally someone like snatched his character sheet away from him, played keep away with him, we're like, oh, try and get it, and then tore it up, and he burst into tears. And I thought, this is really cruel, but I've remembered it all these years, and there's something about that personality. Oh, it's because when Elon's like faking that he gets his characters in the video games all the way up to the super high level.
Oh, right.
And he's actually not
And
doing that.
He doesn't know how to play the game.
He doesn't know how to play the game. Random note about the Starbucks I go to finally replaced their trash cans in their bathroom so they don't have those little rotating flippy lids, which I can't stand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't put the lid, because then it just especially when it's full, like you try and shove something else in it, it scoops up more and dumps it on the floor. It's like, I don't understand. It just because it's like unsightly to see the trash or something. I've just never found those practical in any way at all. Why did they invent the trash can flippy lid? I don't know. Now they just have it's a nice big hole, you throw it in there, it stays in there. I saw.
Yeah, if you're gonna do a lid, do one of those clamshell lids.
So you can step on it with
your foot. Yeah.
I dream imagined an editorial cartoon, woke up and went, I think I still can draw that. It actually makes sense. And I actually drew a sketch of it. I didn't finish it, but I thought, well, that's interesting. And actually this morning, I dreamed it was like a weird, kind of like Lord of the Rings scene. And it started with me imagining drawing Gandalf looking tired, and then I started hearing text, like a narrating text, that this amulet had broken. They had tried to defeat this ultimate bad guy with it, but it shattered the magic amulet, and the power of it was spent, and Gandalf was all wrecked. And I actually woke up and wrote down the text I remembered. So I was like, I caught that one too. I don't know what to do with it. I'm not really interested in writing a Lord of the Rings fanfic, but it was interesting to have, I don't know. It's not easy to grab them and catch them and write them down. I started my normal habit of like kind of turning on the TV. I'm like, no, turn that off until you remember it enough and write it down. You're just going to scramble your brain. You're going to be unable to, and recently I moved a nice big lamp next to my bed. So if I want to, I could turn the lamp on, actually see what I'm writing and write stuff down. Because for the last 5 years, I haven't had a nice desk lamp next to my bed. It's too dark to read or write. And I thought, well, dummy, just get a lamp. And then you won't have this problem. I did see I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, it's a play about written by Robert Shaw's son about the making of Jaws. So it's Dreyfuss and Roy Scheider and Robert Shaw on the set that was a boat, waiting for the shark to work. The shark still isn't working. And Dreyfuss is just totally neurotic. When is this shark gonna work? What am I gonna do? And Robert Shaw is actually not only very well read, he was actually an author of several books, which most people don't know that. Roy Scheider was kind of a cool guy, but obsessed with like sun tanning. So his complexion gets darker and lighter as the movie. And so it's like a little 3-character play. And it actually was like at least, I don't remember, it was Broadway. It might have been off Broadway. And also in London somewhere. And this was just a little local theater company doing this, and they actually built a nice, like, three-quarters, well, maybe one-third size boat, but enough to have the scene where they do the, like, the Indianapolis speech and that kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
And they just butt heads and butt heads and butt heads because Dreyfus and Shaw are like, just their egos won't allow them to exist in the same room together. It's mostly based on reality, but of course it's heightened and it's cut down to make it a theater piece. I thought it was pretty good. There was one little weird bit, and I'd read about this in the New York Times, that, yeah, Roy Scheider kind of strips down and, like, lays out for a suntan, and then immediately, as soon as he's like, they go, "We're ready for you, Mr. Scheider. We're ready for you." But in this tiny little theater, it was in that Ninth and Trinity church space, very small room.
Oh,
The audience is about, the front row is about 7 or 8 feet from the actor, who's completely disrobing except for a little pair of underwear. I thought, yeah, that's a little weird considering the close quarters. Maybe you could have done the cheat thing where you actually wear 2 pairs of underwear to, like, make it a little. Even Marilyn Monroe did that in the famous 7-Year Itch scene with the skirt blowing up. Two
ah.
pairs. She didn't want
Don't
some.
want to show off your religion. Huh?
Yeah, didn't want to show it off through the little white underwear. It's one of those stories I picked up from Hollywood along the way. The just to touch on Doge stuff for a minute, which is continuing. I did see there was one little the Center for African Development or something like that. So basically
Yeah.
folded our arms and say no when the 19-year-old showed up. No, you can't come in. And in fact, our boss is out of the office, and he said, "You were not to let anyone else into this office while I'm away." And it was all kind of on purpose. And the Doge kids kind of wandered around, lost and powerless, for an hour in the hallway, and then finally left. I'm like, yeah, do that to
That's
them.
the way to handle it.
They don't know what to do. Well, they did say, we'll come back with U.S. Marshals. And so they did come back with U.S. Marshals. But did they? Rachel Maddow pointed this out. U.S. Marshals have a uniform and badges and a look and an official. That's not who they brought. They brought guys in, black outfits with no markings that claimed to be U.S. Marshals. But I'm like, if they were U.S. Marshals, they would look like U.S. Marshals. Who is this weird private security force? And then I'm thinking, why? They have access to getting real U.S. Marshals. Just call the DOJ. They'll give you some marshals. But they don't do that. They use weird, faceless security force guys. And I've been trying to figure out, like, why not just... Because it just adds another layer of questions that need to be asked. Who are those guys? Where did they come from? Who do they work for? And then I'm thinking, it might be that Elon was shepherding these guys around the first couple of days. But now he's, like, off and doing his own thing. And the Doge guys are just like, okay, we know what to do now. And they're just going around by themselves. So when they get into trouble like this, they don't actually know how to call the Department of Justice. They don't actually know how to call real U.S. Marshals. They might know Elon's weird security team and ask some of them. But you can see how they're operating like kids who don't know what they're doing if you call them on it. And so I just don't know why more people aren't standing up like that. But I guess, because, again...
Maybe they will now. They have a model.
They have a model now.
I was reading about that where they tried to decapitate or maybe the guy was... There was no leader of the organization, and Trump tried to put a guy in there,
Right.
Marconi, something like that, and they said no, he's not confirmed, and our agency does not fall under the Vacancies Act that you can
Appoint someone.
Appoint an acting leader. Right? We're not one of those agencies that you can do that with. So, no, we don't recognize that he's anything.
Right.
He's not getting in. bye bye.
Yeah,
And so, um, read the read the transcript of that and repeat, even if you have to read it off the sheet when they show
right.
up at your
Because these
agency.
there are these things, and this is actually pretty recent, isn't it? And so I think the word is getting around, like, bone up on the laws, because not all these
Hmm.
agencies are set up the same way. They might have been
That's
established
right.
by a different act of Congress. They might have different rules. They might specifically say how they can be changed or broken down
Right.
or reappointed, and that's very important to know that stuff. So
Yeah.
we're past
And
the being taken by complete surprise, and now people are like, how do there are ways if we think about it, if we look into it. I still, this is kind of related, but the threatening emails, like, justify your job or you're gone, or the ones where people are just directly fired and it says, and they cite poor performance as a
right.
reason. I'm like, why the performative BS reason to say, oh, we had to justify a reason, so it's going to be poor performance? And you get all these people saying, I just got a commendation from my boss like last week. I
Yeah.
know I'm not poorly
You're lying.
performing. Why even bother with that? Who are they doing that for?
Because a lot of those positions, because they are civil service, you're not allowed to just say, I'm the president and you're fired.
So they do need some
They
thin
have to
reason.
have they have to have some thin veneer of legitimacy, and they're trying to do that, and they're using it against probationary folks who never had a job evaluation yet, right? They're
Yeah.
using it against them. They say your performance is poor. It's and no, they haven't. I haven't had one.
Yeah.
So,
It's just,
um,
well, so they do feel like they have to obey some kind of rules somewhere, because it feels like they don't,
well,
but
they're
then they do these things like this where they feel like they are caring about it a little bit. Who do they think is going to call them
well
on it?
because courts have called them on it, and you know, at that point, it's either take it to the next level of court on appeal, or ignore the court. And I think they want to avoid ignoring the court. Um, so we'll see. And it's becoming so unpopular. The main thing is just to delay, 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 because it's becoming extremely unpopular. Tesla stock dove 20% today. Um, um, there are protests at, I know in Seattle there was a huge protest in front of the Tesla um, showroom there, and it's happening more and more. And of course, those aren't just angry American citizens; they're paid agitators
Right.
that are.
The professional page agitators, which is a job you can get, of course. They really
I
like
know.
trotting
I've
that one
applied
out as
for it
if it's
several times.
plausible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, I did. I've seen
he
some.
just called he just called Mark Kelly a traitor today.
Oh, good.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah,
Mark went over to Ukraine and said, after meeting with these people, you realize why we have to stand with them. And
you're a
he
traitor.
goes, you traitor. And he goes, uh, Elon, if that's what you think, maybe you should come over here and meet these people instead of um, being a jackass and commenting afar like JD Vance. Why don't you, like when Zelensky said, why don't you come and meet? And he goes, well, I, I've, I've read reports.
Didn't know what to
Oh,
say.
you
I have
little
seen.
twerp.
I have seen. I've read.
He's
There,
such a twerp.
such a twerp. Um, the protesters at the Tesla showrooms, they've all settled on a really clever like sign to hold up. It's F Elon, which also spells felon,
Felon.
but it's also F Elon. Very nice, very very pithy, very to the point in both ways. There was a guy from Britain talking about what they're slapping up little ads all over Britain in the underground and bus stops that just like trash Elon in this very British, like, when we're very polite, but if we get pissed, we're right to the point, and we're brutal, and we're very funny all at the same time. So it's just happening in Britain, especially London. They just can't stand this guy. Like, don't buy his cars. Yeah, yeah. Once he does the little salute, don't buy the cars anymore.
Yeah. And sales month over month are plummeting in
Plummeting.
Germany and other parts of Scandinavia for sure, and in Germany, and I think France. They're all between 200 and 400% drops, which are pretty serious drops. And that's one of the reasons the stocks are plummeting, or
Plummeting.
the Tesla stock in particular is
I mean, you
plummeting.
can look at the
So
charts of it going. Yeah, it was on a
right.
nice, what seemed like an exponential rise, and now it's already. It might go
Oh, it's just plummeting.
sad.
Yeah, it's and what's next is apparently a lot of his SpaceX customers are going to stop using SpaceX to put their satellites up.
Please stop doing that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if he does that, he's just going to screw himself and become a pariah. Okay, couldn't happen to a nicer guy
Yeah. I mean, although as I was
or more
driving
deserving guy.
driving home just now to do this chat, NPR was saying, "Oh, he just fired the NASA science advisor who's been there for like 10 years, who is also a climate change scientist. So that's probably why." But yeah, they're
Yeah,
cutting at NASA to like wreck it so that he can say, "Well, I have a company that could do this." Um, the Trump a couple of weeks ago, Truth socialed a picture of himself wearing a gaudy king's crown.
I know.
And I was
From
like,
Burger
okay,
King.
it's like he's getting, yeah, like the Burger King. He's getting closer and closer. And then, like, this sort of went without comment. He actually did say, "Long live the king," in one of his posts about himself. And I,
Hmm.
and I thought, okay, I saw that and I was like, okay, I need to remember that. And then I was like, oh, geez, what was the context he was talking about? And then I found it and I was like, oh, it's weird. It's about they finally did congestion pricing in Manhattan, and
Oh,
he put a
right.
stop to it. Congestion pricing is dead, Manhattan, and all of New York is saved. Long live the king! Like that's where you're going to declare yourself king because he's overriding a governor, I guess. But now
Yes.
he has literally posted about himself. I see myself as king. What do you think? And I really didn't hear a lot of people mention this. I just went, wait a minute, there it is. He just said it. He can't unsay it
Yeah.
now. That is where his mindset is. Anyone who says he doesn't actually think of himself as a king, it's like, yes, he does. Look at what he's saying. Look at his little pictures of him in it, the golden statue in that AI generated Gaza video,
God,
90 feet tall, showered with money. It's really gross.
unbelievable. I mean, I couldn't believe it, and I was just like, wow.
I mean, at first I thought it was
If
just
you
a
want to show off that you're the tackiest person in the whole incredible world, all right, mission accomplished.
mission accomplished. Um, well, the gold toilets were a giveaway a long time ago. The This is the world we're living in. We actually still have to
I know.
live in this. Um, Day to day, I guess if I'm not watching the news, it still seems normal, but I know it's not out there. Anything can
No.
happen from day to day. He got a question he didn't like on Air Force One, and from a Washington Post reporter, and you can just tell they're not going to be allowed in the press pool anymore. Or hey Jeff Bezos, who's this guy
Oh, right.
asking me questions I don't like? Because we talked about that last week. That Bezos he's made it clear where he stands.
Yeah. He's
Just
got brown lips.
he's.
Sorry.
I didn't actually.
Sorry,
I
Rob.
was gonna, trying to find like visual things to put for our conversation, which like the balance of that I'm still working on, and I was trying to look for. Actually, I didn't end up doing that. Looking for like ones with Bezos having too white around his eyes, But I did look up whether that's a condition and whether that means you're crazy, and there was a lot of stuff about that. People have noticed that and noticed that about him, which is interesting. What was the other one? Like there was a long red. Oh, the one I obliquely referred to there being something about Stephen Colbert telling a story about Conan O'Brien that skeezed me out. Decided to look that up, and wow, people have been talking about that for a while. Because in fact, Colbert, I couldn't remember where Colbert told that story, but he told it on the Smartless podcast, which is one of the biggest podcasts going right now. So
Is it
a
really?
lot of people heard that story and went ew, and so but there's a ton of links where like Conan has just been blasting out like, no, it's a lie, it's wrong, he didn't tell it right, for years now. And there's people who are like, here's a comparison of each one telling the story, and I thought, okay, I don't want to get too much into this. I've decided I don't think Colbert would have just completely made up a story like that. It's too specifically weird. Anyway,
Well, if he had an axe to grind, I guess. I don't know.
I saw the new Bong Joon-ho movie, director of Parasite, which it's this one's called Mickey 17. The Alamo has been promoting this at my face since November, so I thought I was going to see it a couple of months ago, but no, November and December and the posters and the trailers, and oh, it's finally here in March. Apparently based on a book, so because I thought it was so weird, I thought he had originally come up with it, but no, it's a set in 2059 or so. It's again, when you're setting a sci-fi movie that has so much weird technology in it, and we're living in space, and you can clone people at will, set it more than 30 years in the future. Just, you know,
Just
we're
to
going to
save
be
your
there
ass.
soon. I mean, we saw the Blade Runner 2019 came pretty quick on us, and we didn't have any kind of that stuff. So this guy gets a job as an expendable where he does dangerous jobs, gets killed all the time, and they just print another one of him. And they download his memories every day, so the new clone has basically the memories up to the last moment before he died every time. But then, oops, one guy, he falls through an ice crust into a cave and is attacked by a monster. So they're like, okay, and they go home and they print a new one, but he actually survives and comes back, and now there's two of him. And Mark Ruffalo is playing this weird former politician turned cult leader of a colony trying to find a new home in space because Earth doesn't want him anymore. And of course, he's outrageous and kind of fascist and really insecure and prickly and full of himself and has weird teeth. And so, of course, people are thinking Trump, Trump, Trump. And the director's saying, yeah, but also the weird, Korean president that just tried to do a coup.
The
I'm
South
thinking
Korean.
of everybody. It's just when you get a real fascist, they all share these weird qualities. So don't think
Yeah,
it's one
yeah.
particular one. I'm telling you, this is the archetype. He also has a wife played by Toni Collette, who like he almost has no ideas of his own. She's always having to like kind of whisper in his ear what to say. So that satire is very fun. It's basically a comedy with these weird implications about like what is a soul if you split it this many times, and how do you make sense of this, and then it, it goes through several weird stages that you're not expecting after a certain point, including they want to exterminate this whole population of native. They look like giant bear bugs, almost like what's that name? The microscopic thing that looks like a little bear with six legs.
Oh yeah, the
Tardigrade.
tardigrade.
Um, they actually turn out to be an intelligent species. But of course, the Mark Ruffalo weird guy wants to just kill them all. His wife wants to like grind them up and try and make tasty cooking sauces out of them because they're eating like processed like grown meat food that's not like real meat because they don't have any like farm animals with them. And
Right.
so she's trying to make things taste better. so they all just don't see these living things as like real enough to care about. And then you start reading like, oh, this is a whole like you could get an immigrant population satire kind of going on where we don't see them as human, but they're actually just as intelligent, have just as rich a culture. And then eventually they have to resolve the issue of, well, we have two of these guys when we're supposed to just have one at a time. That kind of stuff. So there's a lot of weird ideas going on in this thing. Very kind of original movie. I think probably public opinion is a little split on whether this is a really great movie or just kind of a weird, funny movie. It's certainly not. I don't think it's going to get a Best Picture nomination. The weird thing I was thinking about was the last time I saw Mark Ruffalo, he was in Poor Things, the Yorgos Lanthimos thing with Emma Stone, where he was playing this really broad, campy, over-the-top performance kind of thing. And here, he's even bigger and campier and broader than he was then. I guess he's reached that phase of his career where he wants to go big.
He's Al Pacino.
He's Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Ooh-ah!
Hey, you got some scenery? I'll chew it.
I'll chew it. It's so. I heard it. Where did I hear this? Oh, it's probably because Alec Baldwin has a podcast, and he had what's his name, Higgins. He was a producer and writer on Saturday Night Live. Now produces Jimmy Fallon's Tonight Show, and is his sort of Ed McMahon guy. So he's known Alec Baldwin for a long time, and at one point, because he was interviewing, it's kind of the Saturday Night Live anniversary thing. And Higgins says, most people don't know this about you, but you're an incredible mimic and impressionist. You do these terrific impressions. And he's like, well, and he's like, because you do like the 5 stages of Al Pacino. And so Alec Baldwin, now, it would be dumb for me to try and imitate Alec Baldwin doing
Imitate.
And the 4 stages of Pacino.
So he's young Pacino?
Yep, young Pacino.
Like a Serpico?
Yep.
He's up here, really high. He's grinding his teeth. Who knows why? I can guess. And he's there and he says, you and me gonna go for a walk without cuffs. You fuck me. I'll put one in your back. That's it, from Serpico. Then Pacino is like, you're out of order. You're out of order. No, you are out of order. You got to get that order. You got to get the New York just right, I think. And then you get into the third phase where he's like way down here. He's so down here. Let me tell you something. You don't understand. And then you get into the southern version. Then he went for a period where he sounded like Foghorn Leghorn. He was like, I realize you don't know. My God. I saw her going down the street. I was like, whoa.
Always tempting to try and bust out the impressions, but they shouldn't do that. I had a good James Mason for a while, but my voice has kind of changed and it doesn't work as well as it used to. It was one of the things.
James Mason.
You have to.
It's kind of
Humbert
too.
Yes, very much so. And it's a
That's
little
not
bit.
bad.
It's a little bit like yes. There it is. There's the James Mason.
It is.
There it is. I knew it was there.
Righto.
I knew it. Little party trick. Do the James Mason. Do it in your famous James Mason impersonation voice.
Yes.
Yes.
James Mason.
Yes. And sometimes you have to aspirate the S's a little bit. Okay, we're getting a little weird here. We're both in kind of a fun. Your energy is lower and mine's kind of higher. I was thinking, now that I've spent so much time actually like poring over the auto captions from our chats, I see that I say the word like 300 times a minute, and I'm like, I want to stop saying like so much because I see how much I'm doing it. Possibly, I've tended to have some coffee before we do these chats. Possibly, I should not do that. So I'd have just down a little in energy level. Because I say like when I'm thinking too fast for my words to come out and I need a little bit of a pause.
Need a little pause. Yeah.
If I just talked slower, possibly I wouldn't need to do that as much. I really didn't realize how much I did it. It's almost kind of embarrassing.
You have to have it pointed out to you either this way or like I did Toastmasters for a short
Ah,
period of time, and they a lot of people and they ring a little bell every time you do it, um, and it's really annoying. So people will use that as kind of a pause button so that they can think of the next phrase and be able to um, say it correctly or enunciate it correctly or sound um, sound intelligent.
right.
And they do it all the time. And boy, it sometimes it really is annoying. And so when you hear the ding like 30 times a minute, it's like, oh boy, it's and you learn not to do when you hear an coming on. Like I did one during that deal, and I remembered it, and I went, okay, let's try not to do that next time. But you sometimes you just leave the out, and there's a little pause. You
But that's
don't say
actually fine.
anything.
People will
That's
wait
fine.
half a second. Yeah, so probably because I only just started remembering to say this now about saying like too much. So probably the first 30 minutes of this, I'm saying like over and over and over again.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I didn't. The funny thing is, I didn't realize you were doing that, or it wasn't conscious.
originally what I said when we first started recording these is that I'm doing this sort of
Uh-huh.
forced laugh too much. And I think I stopped doing that. Now I'm going, okay, now I need to work on the like, and I'm like, and then they're like, because I don't like it. Okay. All right. Well, actually, I think maybe we should call it here. One, because I'm out of notes. Two, because you're busy. Three, because it doesn't have to be an hour long.
No, it doesn't have to. And it should
It,
fit the material,
fit
right?
the mood, fit the occasion. We're recording this. What day is today? Today is the 10th of March, 2025. Oh boy. I don't want. Another thing I do too much is say, wow, how did it get to be this date already? We did have daylight saving time appear again.
Oh, we did. We sprung ahead
I
Saturday to Sunday.
there's a few clocks in the house that you have to set manually, and the one in my car.
Mm.
And I ran around and I set two or three of them, and then only realized I set it the wrong way. Every single one of them. So they were actually 2 hours off of what
So
time it
you
was.
fell back
I
instead
fell
of
back
springing
instead of
forward?
springing forward on all these clocks I set. Fortunately, I didn't. It didn't mess me up too much. I had to get up early on Sunday, and I almost didn't get to sleep that night. It was one of those nights when I'm waiting to get tired. I'm waiting to get sleepy. I'm waiting, and it's three. Oh, actually, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Come on, sleep. And so the fact that I was getting up an hour earlier than I would ordinarily have, I didn't have any sleep anyway, so it didn't seem to make any difference. Then I just stayed up through the afternoon as long as I could, had a little nap, had some dinner, went to bed again, and basically managed to reset my schedule and be in sync
Oh, good.
as of today.
That can be hard sometimes.
I just sort of bungled into it by doing it wrong and randomly. Oh, you
I
have
had to
some.
let the kitty out.
Oh, okay.
See, I use my back scratcher as a kitty release mechanism
Well,
for the door.
it was an odd move, but it had the look of something you've done hundreds of times, so that you could just do
Yeah,
it without really
I
thinking
really
about it.
have. Okay, kitty, go on out.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's cool. Maybe I'll have more to tell you about our fun story
Okay.
for next time. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Who knows? We don't know. Anything could happen. Something weird when I go to the car wash today could happen. You, another sign of spring. Hey, my car is covered with green dust today. Just from yesterday, one day to the next, clean car, completely filthy, dusty looking car. And actually, it was 2 days ago. And then I couldn't quite schedule in going to the car wash. So now, But this pollen, it gets stickier and crustier the more layers you let grow, and it's harder to scrape
Yeah.
off. So I really want
Yeah.
to do that today. Actually, go to a manual car wash where I can get a big foamy
Oh,
brush and
kind of squeegee and smush it off with
yeah,
the sponge.
my favorite one is on Guadalupe and 38th.
Oh yeah, I know it well.
Yeah, they have a big weird foamy brush that you can use. So I might do that actually in a minute.
It says it's for your tires, but
Well,
you can use it all over everywhere.
yeah, I mean, I see.
Well,
other
maybe
people
that one
doing it.
doesn't say it's for your tires, but there are some that do say that.
Yeah, yeah. I see people using it on their windows a lot,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically
Maybe
what
that's
I'm
what
gonna
it's
do.
really for.
There's a green weird green colored pre spray for your tires. I don't know what it does. I guess
Okay.
it has something that
Maybe
like
that's
gets
the
in
new
the thing.
thing,
And
like a degreaser.
the foamy thing is it's pink foam.
Blue, right? Oh, it's pink.
It's pink.
Okay.
And
So I haven't been to one of those car washes in a while, I guess.
I got into it when I was Lyft driving. I was making an effort to keep my car pretty sparkly clean inside and out. So I was there very regularly. Now I'm like, it's just me. I don't. But I know that like it's just going to be too hard to get off if I let it go another couple of days. It's really going
Yeah,
to
good
cake
point.
on there.
You know, I mentioned that mine has that, but it has little kitty paws marks in it because my cat likes to walk on that truck. So I really ought to do the same.
I don't have that, but I do have like a family of spiders that lives in my car somehow. Sometimes I'll try
Wow,
climb
what kind of
in
spiders?
and there's like a web crossing the door, or you see them on the windshield and they go kind of down under the hood. So actually, it's probably been several generations of spiders in one family continuing to live. From their perspective, it's
Wow.
this is their civilization. This is where they've always been,
Yeah,
and I am their strange god
that
that
sounds
makes
like
their
a movie right there.
their their world vibrate with earthquakes. So I try not to kill. Sometimes it's tempting to want to just turn on the windshield wiper and get rid of, but it squishes them. It just immediately, and
I
then
know.
it's a big sticky smear that doesn't come off, and it seems cruel, sort of.
Yeah, yeah.
One tries to be kind to other living creatures up to a point.
Yeah, I think it's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, if you don't have to. But my mom hates bugs, like hates them. Doesn't matter
So
what
she's a
kind.
stomper.
She's a stomper, crusher. She has all sorts of implements all over the house. She has these stories like your father used to like try and catch them in a Kleenex and then carry them outside. And I finally told him, Craig, you're crazy. Just give me a shoe. And
I do that. I do that. I put them in a cup, put a little piece of cardboard over it, and throw them outside.
To me, it's about how big they are. Like they seem more of a living creature when they're meant to be. I will get rid of any cockroach though.
Yeah, cockroaches go to the chickens.
I might carry a scorpion outside. I
Do you
might.
guys have? I guess you're kind of a wooded, hilly area.
We're
so
at
you've
kind
got
of a
scorps
woody
over there.
area. Sometimes it takes like if there's a construction going on in a house next door, the thumpy thumpy makes them pop out of the woodwork somehow. I haven't seen one
And these are
in a
the
while, but-
semi-translucent, yellowy brown ones, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
they blend right into our brown carpeting. So
Ooh.
I did once step on something like, what did I just step on? That's weird. Scorpions. Fortunately, I didn't, like my heel, it went under the arch of my foot and didn't get too
Oh,
riled
good.
up and do something. I was just like, well, buddy, you could have stung the heck out of my foot, but I'm glad we're on good terms. And him, I probably carried
Good
it.
terms. All right, I'll put you outside.
We in the arachnid kingdom must learn to get along. Anyway, okay.
When I was a Boy Scout and we camped out a lot, the rule was you had to shake your shoes out overnight because they would go in there for the moisture and the warmth
Yeah.
that you left for them
They like it.
when you got into your sleeping bag. And so we had kids who would immediately try to put no, check it first. You do not want that sting. It's no good.
It is no fun.
So, and a lot of times nothing, but every now and then see one flying out. You go, see, that's why you do that. So
There was one cruel, like my mom caught two of them and put them in a jar, trying to figure out what to do with them later. And by the time she came back, one of them had eaten the
they
other
sting
one.
each other.
There were just little bits of legs left. It had killed and eaten the other guy.
Wow.
It's cruel world in nature, I guess. And they both felt like
I
it's
guess
you or
it's-
me, buddy.
UFC for scorpions.
Cage match.
Cage match.
Well,
All right, jar
you know what?
match.
Now we've talked another 15 minutes, so it is an hour long.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay.
Sorry.
All
I
right.
kept wanting to throw in an anecdote. Sorry.
Anyway, okay. Well, have a good week. Hope things go well with the post-production. That sounds really cool.
Thank you.
The secret project that we cannot name. And, all right. I'll catch up with you later. Thanks for chatting.
All right, good talking to you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.